well do you know yourself? I mean, really, do you know who you are and do you live by that truth? Or do you live by other people's opinions about who you should be? If you struggle with this, keep watching because you will learn what is standing in your way and what to do about it. Hello, it's so good to have you here. My name is Diana and my channel is all about finding out your inner truth. And today I want to really dive deep into this topic. How do you know yourself? How do you find your inner truth? And I think that we normally don't ask ourselves those questions: who I am, what is the meaning of my life, and so on, unless something really happens to us and perhaps there is something that shakes us to our core, or life just drags us down and we cannot help but start asking those questions, because without answers life is just too painful. At least for me, I have had quite a few trials in my life and I have gone through phases, pretty dark phases of soul searching. And it all started back at high school when I somehow lost connection to myself for no apparent reason, and I developed a depression and an eating disorder. And it was back at that time when I started to ask those big questions for the first time, and it was all out of despair. And now I'm 35 and I have done my best to learn everything I could about life the best I could. And there is one thing that I have noticed, that there is this one essential skill that always saves me no matter how hard is the situation at hand. And today I really want to share this with you so that you can help yourself if you are in a situation when you need it. I really truly believe that we all have this amazing innate potential and wisdom deep within us, and that we are all meant to access it, connect to it, and then express it out in the world. I also believe that every crisis situation that is brought upon us is there for a reason, so that we can get closer to ourselves and learn what is our true desires and what our true purpose is. And once we have that knowledge, we can turn our life around and express our true selves. I think it's amazing, and I think that really makes everything we are going through well worth it. And here we have come to the biggest obstacle of knowing your truth. Do you believe that you have the authority of knowing your truth and knowing what is really true for you? Because the problem is most people don't. They don't believe that they are the ones who can even know their truth. They just don't trust themselves. They don't trust their own inner authority over themselves. And what ends up happening is that people seek their answers externally. They look for external validation. They ask for advice. Basically, they want to get to know their truth from the outside. They want somebody else to give them their truth. And I've seen this happening many times. I'm a tarot reader, and people want to know their future. They want to know what will happen. They want to be sure. And the thing is, the problem is, the way I see it, that they don't want to look within for that truth. They don't trust themselves. They hope that somebody else will lay their whole life in front of them so that they can figure it out and see how to live safely, how to have more certainty. The number one biggest obstacle to finding your truth is saying "I don't know" to your truth. When you say "I don't know" to your truth, you block your truth immediately. So let's say somebody asks you a question, for example, a life coach. The question could be anything. For example, What is the meaning that you have assigned to a certain event that has happened to you? And you say, I don't know. And this is the part where you just put that block there and you don't know it. But here is an important distinction that we have to be aware of, and it is that the block is there as long as you let it stay there on that I don't know level. As soon as you are ready to get to know the truth, you can start to change that. The thing is, it is okay to not know something if you have never been given a chance to know it or to learn it. It is not okay, however, to let it stay there, especially if it concerns you deeply on a personal level. So what do you do if you don't know something about yourself and if you would like to find it out? It could be really anything. It could be the good old who I am, or what are my values, or what is the meaning that I have given to something. So basically anything that you could ever want to know about yourself. Where do you start? The first important thing is the power of questions. So never underestimate the power of questions. A question basically marks the beginning of a journey which takes you into yourself and closer to your truth. By asking those questions, you basically get to see yourself and your life from a completely different perspective. You see it in a different light. And you also start to notice things that you didn't know was there. So questioning yourself, asking questions, helps you step out of your box where you are living in and obtain a wider perspective on things. And so that marks that beginning when you can start journeying within for the truth. And then we come to another very important aspect to getting to know your truth, and it is about learning. And here I would like to emphasize outer learning. And what is outer learning? It is educating yourself. It is reading books. It is watching other people's content, observing other people's experiences. It is basically about expanding your horizon and teaching yourself new things that are possible. You learn what is possible, what could be possible, how other people live their lives, how they think, what philosophies exist out there, what belief systems exist out there, what are the ideas, what other ideas are circulating around you. So basically, the more you educate yourself and the more you learn from the outside world, the more open your mind gets, the more flexible it gets, and your vision also expands. So this is very important if you want to switch from narrow focus and narrow thinking to this wide open thinking where you can handle many different possibilities and perspectives, which will then also help you understand your own truth a lot better. And here we come to the next stage or phase of this, and it is about inner learning. And this is where the real work starts. And this phase or stage is very, very important, because if you don't get past the learning and reading phase when you basically consume other people's content, and if you don't do the inner learning where you actually learn yourself, you will always stay there in those ideas of other people, and there will still be this feeling that this is foreign to you, this is not who I am. So you won't be able to really connect to your truth, who I am. If you want that, you need to turn within and you need to start looking for your own answers. And this is where we can also step into our subconscious. So this gets really exciting and interesting, because once you step into your own inner territory, a lot of interesting things, a lot of scary things, a lot of mystical things can happen. You can bump into so many weird stuff that it's even out of this world. But that is where this learning that you have already done by reading and learning from other people's teachings comes in handy, because it will help you make sense of what you encounter once you start journeying within. And so here we could divide the methods of learning the truth in methods that allow us to access our subconscious mind, and also methods that allow us to work in a more conscious level. And when we think about the subconscious work, of course, meditation is the best method how we can access that altered state of mind. There are, of course, other methods as well, but meditation is the most widely used and the most popular, so that is definitely a very good way how you can start to journey within, even beyond what's visible and what is known to you. Conscious methods, on the other hand, would be those questions, asking yourself questions. The question elicits the answer, and you are, if you really take a look at the question, and if you really try to come up with the answer, it will come. It will come in one way or another, and basically you are now challenging yourself to find that answer. Even at first you have no idea what the answer is. And there is also one method that I really love that kind of helps you to bridge the gap between the subconscious and conscious, and it is automatic writing. So whenever you have this question that you would like to know the answer to, it could be who I am, anything, you just write that question down, and then you write your answer. And automatic writing is about writing everything that just comes to you. It's like a flow of consciousness. You don't censor your writing, you don't think, you don't look for the right words, you just write everything out of yourself, even if it doesn't make any sense. It could be random words, it could be phrases that are not even words, could be like anything that's within you that is coming up relative to the question that have been asked. And after a while, it will take you somewhere. This is something that needs to be practiced, of course, but if you do it regularly enough, then you will notice, at least that is something that I have seen happening to me very, very often, and it's amazing that you are actually giving yourself the answer. You start with, I don't know what it is, I'm confused, I'm lost, blah, blah, blah. And then after a while, once you do that inner searching, once you let the flow just go through you, move through you, you will also start to make more sense of those inner impulses and inner findings, and they will all crystallize into something that is an answer, or at least that is as close to the answer as you are able to get at that specific moment. And it's actually amazing how that inner wisdom surfaces once you give it enough space to do that. So that is definitely one of my favorite things to do if I want to access my inner truth. And here I want to mention another thing that you have to establish for yourself if you want to work with your inner truth. You need to understand how you perceive your truth, because when you start that inner work, what you will notice is that you have a lot of thoughts in your head. There is this mental chatter going on all the time, non-stop. And a lot of those thoughts they have nothing to do with your inner truth. You are trying to process the experiences and information that you receive every single day, every single minute of every single day. There is so much going on in your head. If you enter yourself and you hear all that noise, which is not your inner truth, you will get confused. And this is where it's important that you learn to recognize how does your inner truth feels like, and how it is not your thoughts, how it is not what you consciously think up here in your head. And for me, what I have noticed is that I sense my truth it is a sensation in my body. Basically, my body responds to the truth once I find it, and I feel chills all over. Once I feel chills and this expansive feeling that something inside me is waking up and kind of coming to life, and I have chills all over my body, for me it is a very strong indication that I have hit the nail on the head relative to something. So for you, it could be something different. There could be a tingling sensation, or perhaps there are some specific sensations in your body, or perhaps something else happens for you. So this is really something that you must find out for yourself, because you are unique. And this is again why it is important that you do the work yourself, and that you learn yourself like you would learn any other thing, any other skill, because you are unique and you will respond to your truth in a unique way. Some people hear stuff, some people see stuff, some people sense stuff. So the way you perceive the world is different depending on who you are, and you have to use that channel. You have to develop that channel of perceiving your inner truth. Another thing that I would like to mention here is what happens when you hit a block, a subconscious block or barrier of some sort, because you have most likely many of them hidden somewhere deep inside you. And once you start digging for that truth, you will sooner or later bump into one of those subconscious barriers. And here what I would like to say is that you have to be aware that sometimes you are not ready to know the truth. You are not yet ready to get past that barrier where that truth is. And it could be also the reason why it has been buried deep inside you in the first place, because perhaps it was some traumatic experience that happened to you a very long time ago, or perhaps it was something along those lines, and you did not have enough mental resources to make sense of that experience, and so you buried it deep down because you didn't know how to handle it. And perhaps you are still not ready enough and equipped enough and resourceful enough to deal with that truth. So when you do the inner work and when you journey within, pay attention to those blocks. They will feel like really like hitting a wall. You will feel this major obstacle in front of you, and your inability to move past it or dissolve it. There will be this heavy feeling, this dense, heavy feeling if you learn how to sense your truth and how it feels. And then it's important that you honestly ask yourself whether you are really ready to get to the other side of it. And it is okay either way. If you are not ready, you know it's there. And then when perhaps you have done some more growing and learning, you can come back to it, revisit it, and then perhaps you are ready to work with it and learn what it has to say to you. Other times it could be that you don't want to know because you want to avoid the truth. And here again, it is important to be very honest with yourself, because if you don't get past your mental barriers because you want to avoid the truth, then your mind will come up with all sorts of excuses and you won't do that. You will believe in those excuses and you will go with them. Our mind and our ego has so many ways to do that to us because they want to preserve the status quo. They don't want us to go out from our comfort zone. And our ego wants to preserve itself the best it can. And so you have to be very careful when you look at your inner truth, when you work with your subconscious blocks and barriers, because you kind of it's a very complex thing. Basically, it can get real complicated down there. And the more fine-tuned you are relative to perceiving your truth, the more successful you will be in this work, because you will see where is your resistance. You will be able to distinguish your ego voice from your inner voice, and you will be able to see what to do with that and which is that voice you should be listening to. Finally, I would like to say that it is important that you learn to overlay the inner and outer learning. I already mentioned that a little bit, but here I would like to really stress it, that whenever you go out there to learn something new or ask for somebody's advice, please be aware that their advice, their truth, their experience, whatever it is that you are getting from them, may have nothing to do with your personal truth. Even if they are, even if this person that you are turning to, or this belief system that you are turning to, is an authority or an expert of some sort, it doesn't mean that it is your personal truth, and that is the best way for you. Be careful when you ask for advice, because there is a big difference whether somebody is guiding you through your own inner world and helping you, assisting you in finding and making sense of your own personal inner truth, or if that person is trying to give you the answer based on their perception of your truth. So basically, they are taking their story, their frame of reference, and they are imposing it upon you. They are looking at you from their perspective, and they are not in touch with you and with your truth. So be very careful when you ask for advice, and also whenever you have a feeling that you need to ask for advice. Again, this is a good moment when to ask yourself, why do I need that advice, and what will I do with that advice? How will I apply that advice? What will I do with it? Because if the person answers from their perspective, which has nothing to do with your own truth and your own highest good, then actually by taking their advice, you can hurt yourself. Especially if that concerns how you should think and act about your life in general. It's a bit easier with practical advice, with teaching you how to do certain things to get a certain result. It's different, of course, in that case, but if something concerns your life choices, then you are always the highest authority. And it is also your responsibility to make those decisions for yourself, irrespective of the advice given to you by other people, even if they have more experience. You always need to filter their advice through your own perception of your own inner truth. And again, if you have learned and practiced how to perceive your inner truth through your body, how your body registers your inner truth, then you will know whether that is a good advice, and if that is something that you need, or perhaps you just put it aside because it's not something that serves your best interest at that moment. So whenever you learn something new, do integrate it in your own system. See how it resonates with your truth, and what can you take and what needs to be left aside. To summarize everything that we talked about today, the number one obstacle to finding your inner truth is saying I don't know to your truth, with the meaning I don't want to know. So every time you don't want to know something, you want to avoid that truth, you basically block your access to knowing who you are and what is your truth. And you learn to access your inner truth by outer learning, which helps you expand your horizon and learn about all the possibilities that is out there. Then very important, you do the inner work. You learn your own truth by journeying within, by studying yourself. And finally, you overlay that outer learning and inner learning and you see how those outer teachings resonate with your inner truth. Okay, I hope that this makes sense and that you can use this as a roadmap to finding out your inner truth. Do create a habit to ask yourself insightful questions and do your best to come up with your own personal answer. And never say I don't know to those questions and just let it stay there. If you don't know, just keep digging, keep looking, keep searching within, keep reading, keep learning, and you will know what is that answer, and you will be another step closer to yourself and to your truth. Okay, so this is it. If you would like to get started on finding out your truth and connecting with yourself, I suggest you go to the description box and download my free workbook, where I have put together 12 creative exercises that will facilitate this inner work for you. And I hope you can get some good value out of that. If you like this video, please like it and consider subscribing to my channel, and also let me know in the comment section down below what are your thoughts and what have your experiences with finding your inner truth been. What are your struggles and successes in this area? Okay guys, take a very good care of yourself, and I'll talk to you soon in my next video. Bye.